I'm not a fan of making lists, top whatever list, best of list, things like that. I always found them to be much less definitive than they're presented as. Yes, I've made top 5 lists in the past, but those are more so recommendations, and with the exception of the top picks, all the other choices are in a random order. The numbers don't really mean anything. It's not a definitive list by any stretch of the imagination. Opinions change constantly, especially personal opinions. Whatever I might think of as the 10 best whatever today might be completely different tomorrow. But we got a new Spider-Man movie last week, and I could really use some easy clicks. So that means we either rank all of the Spider-Man movies or we rank all of the Marvel movies. And because I hate myself, we're going to rank every single film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from worst to best. All 23 of them. But if you're curious, this is my ranking of the Spider-Man films. As of 10:48 p.m. on Monday night, July 8th. Let's get moving. So just to be clear, I don't think any of these movies are straight up bad. I like every single film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they're all, at the very least, good. I just think that some are more good than others. And this could all change by tomorrow. I mean, hell, I rewrote this list like 5 or 6 times before I got an order that I felt was right. So for this moment in time, this is the official Wulff Den ranking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Okay, no more preamble. We got 23 films to plow through, and I want to go to bed on time. So let's get right to it. Number 23. So overall, I think Iron Man 2 is a much lighter, breezier film than its predecessor. It's less focused on trying to establish who Tony Stark is as a character, and more so just trying to have a good, fun Iron Man adventure. But it just feels so forgettable. Nothing about this movie stays with you when you're done watching it, and that's a shame because it does have a really good action scene with the racetrack scene, and it does introduce us to some new, interesting characters, like Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer, and Mickey Rourke's Bird. But that's about it. Number 22. I did a video on this movie last year, so I don't want to repeat any of my opinions again, so you can click here to see that. Too Long Didn't Read. It's a really good movie with a lot of fun action scenes, but it often feels disjointed and unfocused. Much like Iron Man 2, nothing from The Incredible Hulk really stays with you when you're done watching the movie. It really does make the forgotten MCU film that much more forgettable. So why am I ranking this above Iron Man 2? Mostly because of this scene. I mean, that's just cool. Number 21. This film is going through something of a reevaluation as of late, especially because Avengers Endgame sort of retroactively made it more important than it actually was. And to be fair, Thor: The Dark World does tell a very good story with great action scenes and fun characters, but overall it just feels like a made-for-TV movie. It feels cheap and small scale when it should be big and grandiose, and Malekith is probably the worst, least effective villain in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's a shame. God, it feels like I'm being overly negative towards movies I supposedly like. What's number 20? Alright, not the biggest fan of this movie either. To be honest, I think the problem here is mostly me. I was expecting a movie filled with a lot of cool, weird-ass Doctor Strange magic tricks and imagery. I got that, but I also mostly got a movie that's a bunch of training montages and a lot of explanation about this particular world. Now, to be fair, the scenes with the cool Doctor Strange imagery are very cool, And when they get around to making the sequel, I would like to see a lot more of that. And a lot more Mads Mikkelsen, because obviously. Number 19. One of the problems with a lot of the MCU sequels is that the characters often feel like they're just staying in place, not really changing or evolving throughout the course of the film. Age of Ultron does move the world forward. It makes the Avengers aware of the Infinity Stones, and at the end, Hulk f***s off to space. But that's about it. The characters end the movie in the same place as where they started it, almost. Regardless, this movie still has some of the best comic book imagery in the entire genre, and the character interaction between the Avengers is second to none. You watch this and then go watch one of the Russo brothers Avengers movies, and you really start to miss the way Joss Whedon wrote and directed everybody. Number 18. Generally, there are two types of people in this world. People who prefer Iron Man 2 to Iron Man 3, and people who prefer Iron Man 3 to Iron Man 2. I am firmly in the Iron Man 3 camp, even though I really shouldn't be. Iron Man 3 does a lot of things that irritate me when other comic book movies do the same thing. Tony Stark spends a lot of time out of costume, almost the entire movie. The title character does not wind up saving the day. His girlfriend does. And most of what happens in this movie either gets retconned or straight up ignored in later films. Like, he quits at the end and then he's back avenging in the next movie. So why do I like Iron Man 3 over Iron Man 2? Because it's memorable. When I watch this movie, the scenes stick with me well after the movie's over. I remember the skydiving scene. I remember Tony's struggles with PTSD. I remember Guy Pearce's incredible turn as Aldrich Killian. I remember Don Cheadle giving one of my favorite line deliveries in the entire series.
You breathe fire? Okay.
And say what you will about the Mandarin twist, but I thought it was brilliant and worked really well within the context of this universe. If Shang-Chi is going to feature the real Mandarin, then they're going to have to do a hell of a lot to replace Trevor Slattery in my mind. Number 17. In the past, I've called Captain Marvel a middle-of-the-road Marvel movie. It's smack bang in the middle of being a top-tier Marvel film and a lower-tier Marvel film, even though this is not the middle of the list. Really, the biggest problem with this movie was the timing of its release. It came out well after everybody else had already gotten a solo superhero film, establishing what the genre should be moving forward. So by this point, it did feel kind of like an also-ran. Also, this was a brand new character debuting right in between the two biggest films Marvel ever made. So all the hype for her was kind of dissipated between the two Avengers movies. Also, let us not forget that Wonder Woman came out 2 years prior to Captain Marvel and did pretty much everything that movie did, but better. Everything. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this is still a very good movie. It has a great supporting cast, a lot of fun action scenes, a really interesting backstory and mythology, and it gives us a great new hero for the future of the MCU. Hopefully, when the sequel comes out, and I am excited for the sequel, it can take the series higher, further, and faster. Yeah, you see what I did there. Number 16. We are now entering the realm of what I like to call just good Marvel films. No qualifications, no it's good, but they're just good. And pretty soon, we'll be in great territory before you know it. Ant-Man and the Wasp is a damn good movie. It's fun, it's unique amongst its brethren. The Ant-Man films overall are much smaller affairs, especially when compared to every other movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But because of this, they can do things and focus on different themes and topics that the other films in the series would never dream of focusing on. When you get right down to it, Ant-Man and the Wasp is a high-octane race against time that's all about the relationship between fathers and daughters. It's beautiful in its simplicity, and more people really should be giving these movies a shot. Number 15. I actually almost ranked this movie much lower because for the first half hour, it didn't really feel like a Spider-Man movie. It felt like a standard kids abroad fare. But as the movie went on, it slowly but surely remembered its roots and gave us a Spider-Man experience unlike anything we'd seen in live action before. It really doubled down on the teen angst aspect of it and gave us a Spider-Man movie with some really fun and creative action scenes along the way. And not to spoil anything because the movie did just come out, but they did give us the Mysterio we've always wanted to see on the big screen, even if he's just a little bit more badass and a hell of a lot more sexier. Number 14.
We're family.
Okay, I should probably try going through these movies a lot faster. I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 became a better film after the fact, especially in the midst of all the James Gunn controversy that happened. But that doesn't change the fact that Guardians 2 always was a very good movie. It's more introspective than big action spectacle, but it works here, and Gunn found a way to take every character further and evolve them more over the course of the film. Except for Drax, he more or less stays the same, but that works for him. Number 13. Guardians 1 proved that nothing is impossible when it comes to adapting comic books to the big screen. The minor miracle of making a fun, exciting, heartfelt space opera with a talking tree and raccoon for main characters proved that nothing was out of bounds. Nothing was too unrealistic for modern cinema goers, and for that, I am forever grateful. Number 12. Okay, it's around here where I feel like my picks are going to get a lot more controversial in nature. Avengers Endgame is 3 hours of fan service, but unlike other fan service movies, this is 3 hours of justified fan service. It rewards viewers who have been around for all 11 years and have seen all the films, and it gives every character the ending that they needed. Yes, we knew it would be big. Yes, we knew it would be epic. Yes, we knew it would be tragic. But it all felt justified. This is a type of film that can only exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Number 11.
All right, I've run out of patience.
You have no idea how close this was to being in the top 10. Captain America Civil War is a better Avengers 2 than the actual Avengers 2. It gives us the big Avengers story we all love, while also squeezing in a very personal Captain America story about trying to save his best friend, while also trying not to lose his other best friend. It's dramatic, it's thrilling, it's intense, it's personal, and it introduces us to not one, but two of the best new characters in the MCU. And not only that, but it's better than the comic it's based on. Why are you booing me? I'm right. Number 10. Okay, look. I know we're all upset that Edgar Wright never got to make his Ant-Man movie. That what we got was essentially a Marvelized version of what could have been a true auteur piece. But you know something? If Edgar Wright were a musician, then Peyton Reed just put out a really great cover of an Edgar Wright song. This is the first real comedy of the MCU, and it is funny as all hell. It has a stellar cast, really fun and creative action sequences. It even acted as a nice palate cleanser to the big-ass Avengers movie that had just preceded it. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does every single thing absolutely right. And it's one of the few Marvel films that I can honestly say is not just a superhero movie. It's a damn good heist movie that happens to have superhero elements to it. Number 9.
I will end this.
You're goddamn right, Thor 1 is in my top 10. Sir Kenneth Branagh created a true Shakespearean epic worthy of the God of Thunder. It's dramatic, it's loud, it's bombastic, and it's utterly ridiculous. But that doesn't mean that Branagh skipped out in other areas. This movie has a lot of great quieter moments between Thor and Jane Foster, and the scenes between Loki and Thor vying for the affection of Odin and the right to the crown is some really riveting stuff, and oddly hits close to home for some reason. Anyone who says this movie sucks or is one of the lesser Marvel films is just wrong. There is no two ways about it, they're wrong. But it's not the best Thor movie. Number 8. You have to understand something. On paper, Thor Ragnarok should not have worked. It had a comedy director coming in to do a big live-action sci-fi fantasy cartoon that had a lot of loose ends that needed tying up from previous movies. It had a lot of storylines from a lot of different sources from the comics. It was going to have cameos from characters that could feel very out of place if done wrong. And yet somehow, Taika Waititi made it work. Thor Ragnarok is funny without being corny. It's earnest without being schmaltzy. It's visually stunning without being overbearing. They just don't make movies like this. I am dying to see another one. I hope the rumors are true and that Taika does want to do a Thor 4 because I need more of this. And hopefully he'll put God of Thunder by Kiss in the movie because, come on, at least do the trailer to that song. What number am I up to? 7, number 7. It's weird to say that The Avengers is the film that started it all, because it obviously wasn't. But it was the film that showed the world that not only could shared universes work, but they could be more than just fan service pieces. The Avengers is the textbook definition of a comic book movie. Not a movie based on a comic book, but a movie that looks, acts, and feels like a damn comic book. It's a movie for fans, by fans, and it just so happens that the jocks and all the cool kids at your school also happen to like superheroes as well because of this movie. Now we just gotta get them to go to comic book stores so that they can support the medium they originated from. Number 6. I'll admit it does feel weird putting Avengers Infinity War so much higher than Endgame on this list. You really can't watch one without the other. If we're being completely honest, Infinity War feels kind of incomplete without Endgame. But on its own, Infinity War just is the better movie. It's more focused and consistent throughout. There's no time for dilly-dallying here. We gotta get to the fireworks factory. And besides, if nothing else, that ending is an all-timer. Sure, it's a meme now, but just sitting there in the theaters watching half of your favorite superheroes fade to dust is horrifying and shocking still, and nothing will ever make you forget it anytime soon. Number 5. I talked about this last week, so you can click here to see my full thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming. Bottom line, this is the perfect kids movie, and it's a great film for adults to watch, and they won't feel bored or insulted by it. It's also a fresh spin on Spider-Man, one focusing on a smaller scale adventure rather than the big events he's typically thrown into. I'm starting to think I like when Marvel does smaller scale stuff. It was just nice to have a Spider-Man who felt like Spider-Man again. And the fact that they put him in a movie that really emphasized the fact that he kind of sucked at his job, but was willing to do anything and everything it took to do the right thing and save the day because of his responsibility is really commendable. Number 4.
The revolution will
Black Panther is really in a class all its own. It often doesn't feel like a typical Marvel movie. It takes a more serious route than other films in the MCU. One focused more on the politics of being a king and a leader in an ever-changing world, while also being a protector to one's people. But what does it mean to be a protector to one's people? That's the type of stuff that Black Panther isn't afraid to ask, nor should it be. It has one of the freshest takes on the genre to date, with one of the best villains in the genre to date, with a visual style and a soundtrack that no other film in the genre has yet to match. We really do need more superhero films like Black Panther. Number 3. You know what movie kicked ass? The Rocketeer. Director Joe Johnston never got to make a sequel to that movie, but he did sort of do a spiritual successor in the form of Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, if this movie really was a thinly veiled Rocketeer follow-up, I'd be more than happy. But this movie goes one step further by giving us a classic, all-American superhero that you just can't help but fall in love with. At a time when movie superheroes were either a brooding badass or a cynical badass or Spider-Man, here comes this all-around good guy that really shouldn't work in a 21st century film, but he did. And then we get to see him have kick-ass adventures with his best friends. We get to see him be paired up with his best gal pal, probably the best female character in the entire MCU if we're being honest. We get to see him converse with Tommy Lee Jones, who's just grumpy as all hell, and it's great. And we get the Red Skull. Those gasps you heard from people in the audience of Avengers Infinity War when he appeared were not unwarranted. He was truly one of the best villains of the MCU besides Loki, and we never thought we'd see him again. And then we did. More superhero movies should be like Captain America: The First Avenger. Not period pieces, but movies that aren't afraid to embrace a character that embodies all the best qualities of humanity. Basically, this is how you do a Superman movie in this day and age. Number 2. The original Iron Man movie is close to a perfect movie. Yeah, the final fight with Ironmonger gets shit on a lot, but really, the story of an arrogant war profiteer learning to become a superhero who's still kind of arrogant has become the stuff of legend. For all of the talk about how Iron Man kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe, about how it changed the landscape of superhero films forever, about how it made a B-list character an A-lister, none of that really matters 11 years later if this movie was bad. But it wasn't. It was great. The perfect lead actor, a fresh style and tone, a fun counterpart to all the other serious comic book films that were around at the time. It has held up a lot better than other films of its ilk. What should have been a dated mess is turned out to be a timeless classic. But it's not the best. Number 1. Is this the obvious choice? Probably. Captain America: The Winter Soldier does seem to be everybody's favorite MCU film. But there is a reason for that. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is the total package. It's funny, it's intense, it's shocking, it changes the characters and the landscape of the MCU in ways nobody thought possible. The action scenes to this day are still the best in the entire MCU. The Winter Soldier, who was already a classic comic book character, had become now a classic film character. And Captain America himself has evolved from being more than just the all-American good boy. Now he is the man who will always do the right thing, whether or not that lines up with those above him. Now, to be blunt, this movie is not the great political spy thriller that everybody makes it out to be. It's a superhero movie that has political spy thriller elements to it. But those elements help elevate this movie to be something more than a standard comic book superhero film. Very few films come close to matching The Winter Soldier in terms of style, vision, and quality. It's the standard bearer not just for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for superhero comic book films in general. Right up there with The Dark Knight, the first Superman movie, and Spider-Man 2. Of all the films in the MCU, some are good, some are even great, but none are greater than Captain America: The Winter Soldier. If you can only watch one of these films, this is the one to watch. And I did it. 23 films ranked, all for your viewing pleasure. Now, if you'll excuse me, it is after midnight and I gotta go to bed. So of course, leave your thoughts down below or anywhere on the internet what you think the best film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. I'm sure you disagree with me wholeheartedly. Don't forget to check out the Amazon affiliate links, the link to Wulff Den Apparel, and don't forget that we have new videos every Tuesday and Wednesday, with Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern being Wulff Den Live. We're back to our regular schedule again. So of course, subscribe to see all of that, like this video, and share it with a friend who likes to see top whatever lists of things and likes to argue about them. I'm sure I gave him something to argue about. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.